particular training is for Power BI, right? So this it is a business intelligence tool, right? So using this particular tool, we can create the reports, right? So to create the reports, we need to get the data connected to this tool, and we can create the reports. Reports is nothing but it is a kind of a visualizations. So when I say visualizations, let me just show you quickly. It is like pictorial representation of the data. For example, so Power BI reports. If you searched in Google, right? So you can see some images also, right? So this is the kind of data representation which we can do it out of it, which means whatever the information or data we have it, right? So we can represent that data in this particular visualizations or charts or visuals or pictorial representation, so that so we can understand the data whatever we have it, right? So we can understand the data quickly also. So whatever the data we have it, right? So that data, if we want to apply specific data, so we can apply filters and we can see the data also, right? So so main goal of this particular BI tool is it will give the data or information in the pictorial representation. Okay, so that is the thing. So we have a lot of BI tools in the market. Out of all the tools, Power BI stands number one position in the market, where it has its own capabilities and people are using more when you compare with other BI tools. Okay, so so before we go to this particular BI tool, right? So we are actually going to learn about data side, and we are going to work on data side more. So when we are already going to get into data side, right? So we need to have a clear understanding about what is this data, how we get the data, what are the different sources, or what is the source system we get the data, and how do we store the data, right? And on what format we get the data, or how do we store the data, and then how do we get that data connected to the BI tool and create the reports. So basically in this particular training, so we are going to learn about what kind of data, what is data, how do we store the data, what are the different kind of data models are there, which model is efficient, right? Usually in the projects, what is the most used model for storing the data? We prefer it. And also, right, so what are the different uh, databases are there to store the data, right? So all this we will understand in the beginning, then we will move on to this Power BI tool end to end, right? So while we understand this data models and all, right? So for the database specific, in order to access the data or in order to check the data, right? So we also need to learn SQL also. SQL is a language, or SQL is the yeah. So it is a language where we use to check the data or to create the objects in the database and to store the data. So this is also something which we will be primarily, learning in this particular training. Okay, and we will also look at the end what are the interview questions with respect to this SQL, right? So standard interview questions they will be asking, and we should be aware about those also, which we will be learning at the end. But Power BI is something we will learn end to end. As I mentioned here, the class timings will be 7:15 to 8:40, 8:30 to 8:45. In between, we'll close it based on that particular class, right? But we will have regular classes as right, it is mentioned. But if you look at, as I mentioned, right, business intelligence, right? The business intelligence means business knowledge, right? So we have this using this business intelligence, right? What why companies has to invest in this particular business intelligence or BI tools? So this is the Power BI tool. It's a business intelligence tool. Business intelligence means knowledge actually. So business knowledge they give us. That's why companies has to invest. So why you invest in business intelligence, right? You have to get our business knowledge, what is happening. So that is the primary reason, right? So how they get business knowledge in the form of this kind of visualizations. So whatever the data is there, right? So we will represent the data in a pictorial format or through visualizations, right? So this is the something, it gives the business knowledge. So that's why companies are spending money on business intelligence. Okay. So if you look at here, so why you should invest in business intelligence? The reason is this business intelligence is the process that help change data into information. So like for example, if I simple example, if I take it, if you take Flipkart or Amazon or any kind of Swiggy, Zomato or Uber or anything like or ATM machine, anything, right? It's all about like if you go and do certain thing, if you order it in Amazon, it will create a record in the database backend, which means how many orders has come or which products is getting sold out, how much sales we are getting it, how much profit we are getting it, right? So those things and all they can able to do that in analysis in the backend with the data. We are just ordering it like in Swiggy, right? So we are ordering. So what time is the delivered time is there? Have that a delivery person reached on time or not? So why is the delay? If too much delay is there, they want to check it because they want to improve their business, saying that like they want to go on time and give it to the customer, so that they prefer that particular platform, Swiggy or Zomato, right? So it's all about like they want to understand this kind of information. Like for example, if you take companies like Nestle or anything, Unilever, lot of products we use it on FMGs, right? Like these kind of goods also. Any kind of business, it could be, end of the day, they get the data. Out of that data, if they want to understand what is happening in the backend, right? So they want to get the knowledge from that particular business. So they want to change this data into information, right? So that if you could look at here, business intelligence is the process that help us change data into information and information to knowledge and knowledge plans to guide organization. For example, if there are a lot of delays in the service delivery, right? If they don't improve it, they will go to from Swiggy to Zomato or Zomato to some other one, right? If they have good experience, right? If there are some issues is happening, if they rectify it, they can easily make that business grow, right? It's all simple examples I'm giving. There is a lot of benefits for the companies, right, to understand these numbers properly, and they can improve or they can plan to continue their business in a sustainable way. Okay. So that is something, it helps. That's why companies they use this BI tools, in order to create the reports, which means they invest in basically this kind of databases to store the data and this kind of BI tools, to create the reports. In the front end, right, there will be Power BI developers or database engineer to store that data and to create these reports, right? So all this they are investing. There is a proper, use for them, like to make use of these BI tools. Okay. So this is some example I have given, like, why it helps or how it helps for the companies so that they are investing. But if you look at this particular one, right? So in this diagram, right, I'll explain the flow of the data. For example, So they get the raw data initially, right? For example, you order in, you go and swipe your ATM card and withdraw money, right? So that transaction, it has to go and feed in the database, or it should reflect in your account. So that account also, it has a certain objects for your account transaction. It will be loaded somewhere in the database, right? Which means whatever the raw data we get it, right? It could be like through offline or online. So whatever the data, so there will be some stores will be there, right? So clothing stores or supermarkets, they make billings. That is like invoice or whatever they do it, right? So that is also one of the data. So that data they want to store it in a database. Data warehouse is nothing but database only we will be storing. Data warehouse is a term actually in which, you know, like we will use certain models to store the data efficiently in the data warehouse. We'll go through in detail about these things in upcoming lessons to understand or to make you understand about what is this data warehouse, what are the models are there. So which model we want to prefer for to storing the data in data warehouse, right? So basically, I'll tell you. So we want to store more data in less space, right? So that is our goal. More data in less space, and also the charge also it will be less. For example, if you take lot of videos and photos in your mobile, right? Videos maybe. If you take it too much videos, your memory will be full. And again, you need to buy some bigger phone, right? So same cost. So in the projects also, right? We want to see efficient model where so we can store more data in less space, right? All those things which we will understand in the this particular data warehousing lessons in maybe from starting from tomorrow. But what I say is, whatever the data we have it, so we do this data loading with the help of ETL tools. ETL means extract, transform, and load. There are some specific tools are there. Whatever the data we get it in the source system, we will have the jobs or pipelines created. Using that, we load the data into the data warehouse. From that data warehouse, whatever the data we required data we want it. For example, I'm creating a report called sales report or brand report or volume report. It could be any kind of reports, financial report, right? It could be any reports when I'm creating. For that particular specific report, what data is required, I'll pull it and I'll create the report. You could see graphical analysis is nothing but it's a pictorial representation. What I just shown in the this one, right? If you could look at here, so these are all visualizations what we have it, right? So this kind of representation we do it out of the data what we get it, and based on this, right, the higher management or required responsible people, they will have regular meetings to discuss about like what is happening in our business. Like this is we are getting this much sales in this area, we have less sales, we want to improve in this area where we want to do certain advertisements, or we want to do certain campaigns, maybe like whatever they want to discuss, they can discuss about these reports with that data, and they'll make the decisions like also they will also create the strategies how they can improve the business. Also, right, there is one more thing. Using the existing information, they can also do certain things called data science. Using the data science means Python or R, using that languages, right? So they will be using machine learning tools to generate the future data also. For example, in this particular year, these many cars has been sold out. So what is the probability of next year where we can manufacture our cars more, for example? For example, because of less cars, right, they have an impact in the sales, or because of too many cars they have manufactured this year and less cars sold out, and there is an impact for them. So they want to understand that, they want to predict that things. Those also they can generate the data. Again, that data also gets stored in the data warehouse, and that is also again represented in the pictorial representation. It's like any kind of data, right? So we can visualize it like using these BI tools. Okay, so that's what like we will be doing it like in, using this BI tool. This is the flow of what I just explained for the BI tools. But if you want to tell you like actual architecture of the 99% projects, right? So this is what they will be using it. So we might be getting the data from different systems. Like for example, if you go to the what is that supermarket, right? So they will have some of the different counters will be there, that they enter some customer orders, and that gets feeded in one of the system over there. System means database, right? So for example, if you take anything, of course, like metro, right? If you buy a metro ticket, that is also, it will be stored in the data. How many passengers are going from which place to which place? All this kind of analysis, they can do it with the data. How many people are traveling actually in a day, and which time it is more peak time is there, where they want to add more trains, right? These kind of understandings and all, they can get it only with the data. Right? Simply, okay, this time we want to increase it. They don't do it, right? It's all about data, what they get it in the backend, and based on the data, so they try to kind of, improve their services, right? It helps them. So whatever the data sources it could be based on the business. So we will have this ETL tool. What is that? ETL tool, as I mentioned right here. ETL means extract, transform, and load. Extract means simply extraction. Transform means there are certain changes we make it and load it. Right. So we'll talk about that. But each and every step, wherever data is there and next step is there. Like for example, from here to here, if you want to move the data, we need a ETL tool in between. And these tools, right, every day, so we will schedule it particular time. Let's say 5 a.m. I want to load the data, or 9 a.m. Another time I want to pick and latest data I need to load it. So likewise, we will schedule it automatically. It will get that information and load it over here. Okay, so to talk about this architecture, right? So we will get the data sources. See, this is like more about a very depth topics, which I'm just telling. Even if you don't understand a few things, just leave it. But our primary goal is to learn Power BI tool. Plus, these things you should have idea about it. That's it. Okay. But let me tell you, whatever the sources we have it, right? So we will get the data and we will store it in staging area. Operational means it's a staging area, starting place, whatever that we get it, we get the data into staging, right? From the staging, right? Before loading into data warehouse, there might be some changes we wanted to do it. For example, so we will have mobile number and name, both together it might be coming from the source. I want to store that data in database, mobile number separately and name separately, customer name. But in the source, we might be getting two columns, mobile number and name, both in one single cell or row, we will be getting it. So likewise, I'm just give an example. So likewise, transformations, we do it and we will load that data into the data warehouse. And there is a MDM, you can see it, right? A master data management, right? It is nothing but, for example, in data warehouse, right? We might need to store only 2 years data. We don't need, more than 2 years for reporting purpose or data analysis purposes, right? So more than 2 years, we don't need it, right? So what we will do, we will archive it in the another storage place. If at all required, we can, for example, if you notice or observe it, right? If you want to download that, bank statement, it will be allowed only for a certain period. Let's say it is allowed to, you can download yourself only for 2 years. More than 2 years means you need to go and request in bank or something, which means the data will not be given for the users directly to the MDM. It will be like it will be available only for that, bank representatives. So which means, so the more and more access we do it, there will be a lot of other implications with respect to the cost. That's why we will archive it, and whatever the regular data we want to keep it, we will use it. And out of which we will also create data marts. Data mart is nothing but subset of the data. For example, we might be having whole data of the organization in data warehouse, out of which we will have, sales data, marketing data, or some kind of volume data. So likewise, we'll have separate data, right? So specific data, we keep it in data mart and we create the reports. You could see this is the BI analytics, right? BI tools. BI tool is nothing but this Power BI tool kind of tools, right? So not only Power BI, there are hundreds of mobiles are there in the market, different brands and different. Likewise, lot of BI tools and is there in the market. Any BI tool we can use it to create the report, right? So out of which we are learning Power BI tool. Okay. And from that, like BI tool, users will be accessing the reports through access, right? So they will be accessing it. So this is the whole flow of the, actual thing which will happens in the projects. And if you talk about this slide, next slide, right? So there are different, see, like it's all about data. It is a kind of any kind of data, it doesn't matter. We want to create a report out of it. It could be financial data, financial domain. So I just given some examples of some 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 companies actually here, like banking domain, manufacturing, healthcare, e-commerce, energy. So likewise, food and beverages, right? It could be end of the day data we want it. Out of this data, right, we have to create the reports, which means there are n number of domains are there, like these domains, any kind of domain. So we can create the report out of it using the BI tool, right? So in the domain perspective, right, if I have to tell you financial domain, if you already have experience in financial domain, and again, if you're looking for another company, also another opportunity, if you had experience in financial domain, it will be easy for you to understand like what kind of things are there in financial things, and you can go ahead with that. Like, right? Otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's all about like and what is the business requirement, what data they want to see it. So why they want to see that data, how it helps them. If you get a clarity from the stakeholders or the client, right? So you will be able to create the report out of it, and it helps them to understand their business. Okay, so this is just give an example, like there are different companies data we might be getting it, and those data we will be creating reports out of it. Okay. And so this is again the same flow what I have given, but here I have mentioned the tool name also. Like I was telling ETL, right? ETL means extract, transform, and loading. So whatever the data we get it in the sources, right? Facebook also. Let's say if you click on something, right? How many likes they're getting or whatever. If you want to create certain reports using that, or they do some advertisements through Facebook, and out of that we want to create a report. So those kind of things also. Any kind of source we have data from that data. So using this ETL tool, right? We will store the data in the database, and we will be creating the report. So here it is mentioned Tableau is a BI tool, right? It could be any BI tool. In this case, you could see Power BI is the BI tool, and here it is Informatica. So what I mean to say, there is no one particular BI tool only in the market. Like we have hundreds of mobiles are there, mobile different brands are there, right? Likewise, different ETL tools are there. Informatica is one ETL tool. So different storage databases are there, different company BI tools are there, right? It could be for that particular specific project, what ATL tool or what storage or what BI tool it will be used. It depends on that tool. We have to work on it. And why Power BI, which one is better, right? So why Power BI, right? Instead of why Power BI, I just want to update you that out of all the BI tools, right? So Power BI is number one position and Tableau is number two position. Just I want to take you this particular diagram. If you could see 2015, right? Tableau was number one position in the market in the BI tools. But from after 15, 16 onwards, right? So till date 16, and now it is like we are almost getting 26. Last 8 years, Microsoft Power BI states number one position, and number two position is Tableau. So these two tools are there in the market, like they are like most usables. And how they are defining these two tools are very good to go to the number one position, right? So based on two factors. One is ability to execute and completeness of vision. Based on these two, area, right? If they compare with these two tools are number one in the market. You can even check this in Gartner website. You can get the latest also. Latest also we have Power BI, Microsoft Power BI as a number one position in the market. This is like something I just wanted to give it. And also one thing I would want to tell you is scope on learning Microsoft skills, like the Power BI tool, right? The Power BI is what it is also from Microsoft, right? So Microsoft tools will always have stable, demand in the market for the jobs actually, right? If you look at SSIS, it's a ETL tool. It is there since last 20 plus years, and now also people are using SSIS ETL tool for loading the data, right? So ETL means extract, transform, and load, which I mentioned, right? So that is what like, and they got one another tool called Azure Data Factory. It is a cloud-based ETL platform. So this is an on-premise platform, and this is a cloud platform, right? It is also having huge demand in the market right now, right? And they also have data modeling tools are there. So these modeling tools, they were introduced long back, and they were like people are still using these tools. And for reporting, they introduced they had a old tool actually previously, SSRS. SSR means SQL Server Reporting Services, full form. So this tool, they stopped it actually now, and they are trying to promote Power BI tool for their users or customers. Okay, so which means whatever that SSRS reports or SSRS clients, whatever they have it, they asked to migrate that SSRS to Power BI reports, because Power BI has latest features and lot of additional features when you compare with the previous tool. And it is having a lot of data capabilities, and they can get for less money also. License also they need to pay less license. So likewise, so which means like what I'm saying is it has its own market. Always it will have a good demand if you learn these BI tools. Okay. And if you look at these products, right, which we will go in detail in upcoming lessons when you go through. Power BI Desktop is the developer tool. We are going to use it to create the reports. Like we were showing these reports, right? This kind of reports. So these reports can be created using the BI tool called Power BI Desktop, right? So we develop that and we deploy that in the Power BI server or Power BI service. Right, so we'll talk about these things in detail, and we have licenses also. We have Power BI Pro license is there, premium license is there. What difference which we can make out of it, we will see in upcoming lessons. So in detail on that Power BI sessions. Yeah, this is what I mentioned, like Pro license and premium license, what we have it, it is just given here. And this is the interface of the Power BI tool. I just want to open that tool, so we can just go to Power BI Desktop, right? This is one. I have already opened and kept that particular tool, right? This is the tool, and I can click on this blank report. Blank means new report, and you could see this is the tool, actual tool, right? And you can see, if I have to tell you high level, so report view, table view, and modeling view. So modeling view is nothing but where we will create the relationship between the different tables, and table view where we can see underlying data, and here is what we can create the report out of it. In order to create a report, right, we need to connect with the data. Without data we cannot create anything in this BI tool, right? So we have a database is there, like SQL database. It is connected previously, so I just click on that same connection. So we'll go through these things in detail when we have, regular classes, right? But I just wanted to connect and show something and create certain things and show you how does it works for us, right? So let's say I'll just go with this database, and I connect with some tables out of it. See, I just click on those tables and load that data into the tool. See, two tables are getting loaded, and they will be seeing, you can see the tables loaded in the right side of it. They're still getting loaded. Yeah. And you can see these tables loaded. In the table, what kind of columns are there? Data, fields or columns are there, which you can see it. For example, category is there. If I click on this category, right? See, it has come over here. And maybe I would want to add sales. Category wise, how much sales? Click on this. See, we're able to get it. It is very small, right? I want to make it big. I can go to this format session. All these things we will see like in upcoming lessons, very detailed, like I'll just explain you, right? So how we can develop this, right? So you could see, we can see in a table format. I don't want in table format. So this particular information, see, so we have huge data here. If you look at for this table, like this data is there, that data we are able to show in a pictorial format. It is very easy to understand how much data it has happened. Or if I want to make you to show this one in another chart called bar graph, I just select that bar graph and I can show that data in bar graph instead of this table visual. Or if I want to show this information not in a bar graph, maybe I want to show it in a donut chart, I can show like, right? So there is a use case. Actually, I'll explain when to use which visuals. For example, bar chart, for this scenario we use bar chart, right? So when to use, we don't need to use, okay, color different visuals. There is a purpose or scenario when to use which visual, right? So we'll discuss about that after developing these reports, kind of this like this. Let me save this file, save as. Okay, so maybe downloads. Okay. Demo team 36, for example. Click on save. Save. So it is saving actually. So once it is saved, right? So it's already saved. You could see the name here, right? I can deploy this report in the Power BI server or Power BI service, right? So click on publish button. I'm just giving you high level what is this, but we will go in detail like how these things will happen in upcoming lessons, right? So I click on this place to publish it. Once we publish this report online, right, users will see this report or access these reports through this web portal. It's a link, right? See, you can see it's a web portal they're seeing. So users don't need the Power BI desktop to see the reports. They can log in with this their credentials and they can see the data directly online like this. We can also go to the full screen mode if required. See, we can see the data like this. And it is a purely like web. And whatever we developed it here in the desktop, it is showing online. So this is what we do it, guys. And a simple thing, if I have to tell you, we have to drag and drop and create the report. This kind of pictorial representation, we publish it using publish button and give that report to the users to analyze or do the data analysis. For their data analysis purpose, so we create the reports, whatever the reports they wanted, we create it and we deploy it. So this is what we do it in Power BI tool. And this data is there, no? So this data where we get it from the database. The database is what like we discussed, like this is the databases. This is one database. From this database, we get the data out of it. Okay. So that is about that. And if I have to tell you this, right, this is one particular slide. So to explain you, how is that a roadmap of our training, right? So today I just given the demo or overview session, right? It's not a demo, it's an overview session, right? It's more about complete knowledge, why we are using this BI tool. So what is the purpose? All these things we had an understanding, right? From tomorrow, as I mentioned, right? So we will go through this, what is data? How do we store the data? What are the terms we need to use it in the data side? So those kind of things and all we will understand in the data warehousing classes or sessions. After that, so we will go to the SQL server. So where, how do we store the data in a database and how do we retrieve the data? All these things we understand upcoming lessons like SQL server. Then we go to the Power BI desktop. You know what is Power BI desktop already. Power BI desktop is nothing but this one, right? Using this, right? So we will learn each and every option over here in this tool, right? What scenario, what we will be using in the real time projects. I'll take you real time scenarios and explain, okay, on what cases we will be using this option and that option. We will also go inside. We will have a lot of data transformations which we can make it. How do we make it and why do we make it? All these things in detail we will understand in this particular BI tool. Right? It's not a very difficult one to learn it and it is simple, but it has its own demand also. Right? So we'll take you through end-to-end Power BI desktop about that. And as I mentioned, right, Power BI usage of visuals. These visuals are there. When to use which visual you should be knowing. That also I'll take you there. Then DAX functions, guys. See this whole training, right? For Power BI training, DAX functions is the backbone of this training, I can say. So most of the places right outside, they don't teach all the functions with real-time scenarios properly. And what is this DAX? If I have to tell you, right? So if we have a sales is there right now. We dragged it here. Category wise sales, we are getting it here, right? But I don't want whole sales. I want current year sales, which means this sales completely we are showing, but I don't want completely. Latest year I want it, which means we want to create another column using the DAX expression to get only latest year data only. So it's like not like everything drag and drop. For that, they will give 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs salary also, right? So we want to do certain thing at least in this BI tool. So that is nothing but DAX. Also, I'll tell you like easy way how to learn that with examples, right? This is more important in this particular training. If you learn these DAX functions, right? So you don't need to develop anything. They are already developed. We have to pass the arguments for that function to make them work so that they will be working properly. Then we deploy that reports in the Power BI service or server, which also I'll go into the. Also, I'll take real-time project notes and interview notes. Also, resume. Also, I'll just share that thing. So this is what like the training will be continued from the starting to end. So in between, right, every day when I take these classes, right, theoretical or practical, right, I will be asking questions, whatever they ask in interviews, right? So I'll ask that questions on everyday basis. You need to prepare and come so that you don't feel difficult when you attend the interviews. Okay. Also, I'll share that Power BI reports to practice to get hands-on practice about those reports, right? And I will be providing this class recordings. So it will be like from the start date, it will be 8 months. I'll give it. I'll not give it for lifetime, but 8 months is a good time I give it. And also I'll share end-to-end materials, whatever that notes is there, right? Excel notes, which you need to prepare. So I'll share it. That will be always you will have access for that. And I also help in the placement side. So, but most of them, right, based on my training, they don't go for placements because they get on their own because I give end-to-end knowledge, whatever it is required for interview and also work purpose, right? So most of them they get that on their own. In case if it is not possible for you, like to get it on your own after trying, you can also take my support to get that also job. Okay. So that is also something I just do it. Okay. And this is like my channel, Corporate Trainer Naveen. You can just search it in YouTube. You can find this channel where there are a lot of training videos available. I used to take the Tableau training also previously long ago, but now I'm not taking, only Power BI is what I'm taking right now. But you can find my Tableau videos also, public videos directly on the my channel itself. Okay. And the class timing from tomorrow, it will be the same timing, 7:15 onwards. But let me just keep here in the roadmap. And yeah, so this is the time for you to ask any kind of queries, all of you. Any questions or queries are there, please feel free to ask me now. Any questions are there? Anybody has any questions or any queries? You can hear me, right? All of you or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that's it from my end for this session today, and we will have next class from tomorrow. Those are like regular classes, right?
Hello, hello.
Yep.
So
Let me
without
stop
ETL,
this. Without ETL.